So we were discussing, I will continue, and this is going to be the last class, last lecture uh, for this one. We will continue what we were discussing, that is a noise and interference. So we have mentioned that broadly by making the noise, we said it is something which is internally generated in the circuit itself, that is a thermal noise, flicker noise, and so many other types of noises which are available, which are generated in electronic circuit. And actually, that part I have not discussed. That is called the interference. That means some source is there nearby your sensor or the readout and like this. That is interfering. That is interfering with the measuring system and give you improper reading and all the things there. So we need to know that what are the sources there, and we should take proper precaution in order to avoid that one. So it is very important, and also I will tell you it is a very difficult one. Only very practical persons can have a complete grasp over the mechanism of noise coupling and like this or interference. So, but everybody should have some idea before it, and for designing and particularly layout and or packaging, all the things are involved in it. So this interference, if we say we have told it like this, that is some other noise source. So here it is the sensor, and it is connected through the wires like this, and nearby there is some source, external source. I call it even noise source, I can call it, and which will couple, energy couple, and transfer some of its signal or energy into it. And that will disturb the performance of it, and that is very important to know, and also we should try to avoid, make it to a minimum there. So broadly speaking, the types of interference are conductive. That means if this noise source and our signal and there, domain, they are connected through some resistive circuit or through some wires or through some resistive element, so that there is the signal, it also passes some of the transfer some of its energy into this one. It could be conductive also, we will come to that one. Many types of conductive like this. It could be inductive. That means this noise source is there, it's carrying say high current and high frequency or like this there, and there would be some voltage induced somewhere there corresponding to LDI/dt or like this there. If the current is high and like this, that is a conductive coupling. So we call it conductive coupling, inductive coupling. Third one is capacitive coupling. And lastly, we have electromagnetic coupling. This electromagnetic coupling is very high frequency. It is normally in range of megahertz or like this there, which we can see always that if there is a high frequency switch nearby your audio device which you are having, there is always some disturbance, we can have it like this. So this is called the electromagnetic coupling. But apart from that, this conductive coupling, inductive coupling, capacitive coupling are the major sources of coupling there. And we need to ensure that this coupling from the unwanted signal is minimal there. About that one, we have explained what is a capacitive coupling in the last day. In the conductive coupling, there are two types. One is what we call it improper grounding. We have already explained that if there is a single power source there, it gives you, say, suppose a ground and a VCC or something, V plus there, single power source like this there. And it gives power to different modules there. It gives the power to the different modules there. And this one draws the different current here. So, if we connect it in this manner, that means one small wires like this, connecting like this. But if this one is taking a high current, say suppose 100 milliampere, and here it is 10 microampere like this. So this is a ground point. It can be, we have shown it, that due to the interference of the presence of the other modules of the signal conditioning or like this there, this ground will be, voltage will be increased, and all the voltages we are always measuring it with reference to the ground. So whatever we are seeing, thinking of actually a zero voltage is not the zero voltage, because of the so many currents are passing through it and enhancing this voltage to a higher one. So what we said is that this is an improper grounding, and particularly if it is there is improper grounding, and if there is a what we can say digital circuit nearby, there is always a digital circuit takes the current, it takes it very fluctuating, it's spiky or like this, and as a result in that case this ground voltage will also be very spiky like this there, and that will cause you lot of errors in this way. So what is the remedy which was suggested? That you don't connect it like this, or independently you connect the lead wires like this. You connect the lead wires like this, so that there won't be, and connect to the power supply point, ground point at one point, at one there. That is a remedy there. Then in spite of the presence of this 100 milliampere source nearby, it will not affect the voltage at this point there. And always, often in a PCB or in ICs, mixed signal ICs are like this. There are two grounds. Normally, one is called the analog ground and one is a digital ground. They run it for this reason, they run two ground lines. One is analog ground and another is digital ground separately. And they are connected to the chassis ground at one point only, so that the effect of digital ground is not hampering your analog ground and etc. there. So this is what we called it a conductive coupling there. Another type of conducting coupling is there, which is very important and often very difficult to remove, which is called a ground loop interference. This happens often, you will find it. This is the area. So if we look at your power supply at your household or like this, we always will find it that this is there is a ground line. But what is meant by that one? That ground point are connected to the common ground line, and then it is earth. There is using some plates and etc. It is put deep inside your earth, so that here all the things there we can consider it to be at the ground potential. That is a very important, the earthing of your measuring scale laboratory or this one is very important to ensure that it is at the proper ground level. But still then, there are certain cases where it's called the ground loop interference. What is it? Say suppose this is your sensor. Maybe in this case itself there could be some signal condition, preliminary signal conditioning part also there. And that, so all that, or the sensor could be an active sensor which can be modeled as a source with in connection in series with a series resistance. And say suppose I have a long wire, and here you just put some amplifier and then put the output there. And this amplifier, maybe just for the sake of A there, it could be large VCC and this ground. Often we also have a single power supply amplifiers and etc. there. So I am considering for the simplest case, there is a single power supply there and we have an amplifier and this is there. We assume that there is some voltage, this is the wire carrying it, and this is the voltage here at the between the ground and this point. Of course, we save a lot of wires, but there is an assumption that there are two ground points A and B. We assume that these ground points, maybe there is a distance of few hundred meters or something, maybe 10 meters also or like this, at two different grounds there. We assume both of them, they are grounded separately, that is a one place there is a earth pit is there, another earth place there is some earth pit, but they may not be exactly at the same point or like this. So the point is that these points, earth point, the ground points A and B may not be at same potential. Actually, this is a fact, it happens that there is, because these are the ground point here, maybe the next room we have another, the readout on like this, we have connected some wires there and there is another ground point there. And in between, there would be some, because the 50 hertz is a very common source or like this, even you see, look at it, you see the railways, one point is the traction, 25 kilovolt, and it is drawing very high current there. And the other point is your railway track. So all the currents are passing through the railway track to the at one point of ground. So if this amount of current goes on like this, and due to different reasons, that different, even though they are connected at two points like this voltage, say two voltages are not the same. There may be, say it is obviously a 50 hertz source because of different 50 hertz current going into there, and maybe the voltage may be 2 to 10 volt RMS. So if it is a 2 to 10 volt RMS there, then it is obviously, you can easily understand that this voltage is, and this voltage may be in millivolt or microvolt or like this there, or microvolt there. So definitely these two things, this is a noise voltage Vn and this is a signal voltage Vs, they will get added up and it will be amplified. And if we put it in the output, we will see only the 50 hertz component there, and I will not be able to find out any source, any signal from the sensor like this. So this is a big problem there. There is a big problem there. Somebody may say, okay, at the output I will say put a 50 hertz band reject filter. You can do it, but the point is also there that this band reject filter, it may be rejecting 50 hertz, but for other there, uh, other signals also, what we mean to say that it may reject 50 hertz, but the attenuation is not 100%. There would be always some attenuation, some point, some signal would be always there. That may be sufficient to, more sufficiently more than this one there. So this A and B point, if they are not on same potential, and it is a fact, you cannot avoid it. And putting filter is not a good signal there. And in fact, another example could be in your ECG signal. ECG signal has a component which may vary from 25 hertz to maybe or even lower to up to say 80 hertz or like this. So 50 hertz component is in between of this one. Then definitely this ECG signal will be distorted if the this notch filter is not properly put on like this. It is always, of course, it is always better to find out first uh, that what is the source of the noise coupling and try to avoid it first, though we often use multiple number of techniques to overcome these things there, so that there is a so the noise reduction is happening at several stages. So in that way, we use sometimes in ECG signals also the notch filter to avoid 50 hertz area. Now the question is that what will be the way of by which method we can avoid this noise coupling particularly. So this is called a ground loop interference. You can see in internet and like this, Wikipedia and like this, lot of things apart from your books and etc. are written. There we will be able to understand that what are the problems are like this. So if we look at it, what are the remedy? There are several ways we can try it like this, and even to avoid, as I told, ground loop interference effect is very severe. We often employ 2-3 methods for overcoming this area. So what is the remedy? Number one is use differential amplifier. So what I mean to say that I am using a single input op amp. Instead of that, we use a differential amplifier. What I do is that, so this amplifier, I modify it as a differential amplifier. It has got a plus and minus there. What I do is that at this point, so instead of taking a single wire, at this point, I connect another wire there. They may be putting two wires are going parallelly, and you connect it to the differential amplifier. So what is happening is that instead of using a single input op amp, we use a differential amplifier, a single input amplifier, we put a differential amplifier. So what is the advantage? I take another extra wire like this. What is the advantage? You can easily understand in this case, for both the two inputs, if I consider this to be the ground point, these two, this common mode, this 50 hertz coupling, rather ground loop voltage will act as common mode voltage for both the two waves. And we know that if it is a differential amplifier, it will reject, and if it is a good quality differential amplifier, it will reject that 50 hertz 2 volt component, because both of them are the same, and only the difference between them is due to the sensor, and that sensor voltage is being amplified and doing that one. So it's a very simple analog technique. But as I told, for the precautions, because often we require to go for microvolt or even nanovolt scale level there. So even though there is some other, you do it properly, it is maybe some small voltage will be leaked, and this will interfere it to that one there. So naturally we often take care, we use multiple techniques there often to avoid that. What are the other techniques we can use?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, in this differential amplifier, sir, output is still single-ended, and that will be also measured with this ground B, not ground A. So
Ah,
will that
but
be?
I am measuring it at this point. I just consider at this point the ground. So I put a meter and I put a ground here. This ground, rather I connect it to this ground here.
So
What is
will that not be a problem because that ground B is different from ground A due to that
Let it
50
be.
hertz?
But I am just seeing what is the output voltage and what is the ground point here. In between, this is the voltage. I am not looking at the other things here. Okay, because this is a voltage we are having. We are saying whenever we are looking at comparing at 2 points, there is a voltage there. But this acts as a common mode voltage. So naturally, this will be at this end if I consider it to be the actual zero voltage. And maybe here it is a 2 volt or 10 volt here, there. So then it is like this here. Got it?
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Means we are just separating A and B.
Yeah. Another thing which is very common, logical, or like this, very interesting to do the things here. So always it is better if it is use a differential amplifier compared to the single input amplifier there, because this noise problem in instrumentation it will be here there. Next is that simply what we say is that break the loop. There is a loop here and there is a differential, as I told often if we do it, is that multiple techniques we employ so that make it double sure and make it for reduced, the effect gets reduced in cascading in several stages there. So another technique is a break the loop. How to break the loop? By using one is, okay, I call it a transformer. What do you do is that, say suppose, very simple, I break it. In this case, I make it maybe like this there. So what will happen is that there is a no between primary and secondary, there is no galvanic contact. So naturally, that 50 hertz component cannot pass through this way. Apart from this differential amplifier and like this, forgetting about that one, because ultimately if you look at it, the differential amplifier, it will reject the common mode signal, but you see it has got a CMRR which is finite always. So that will be passing some common mode signal. But if we do it in this way, then there would be completely, it is isolation from this point to this point. So naturally, there is a signal amplifier there. Okay, it may be sometimes airport also, so that there is no a physical coupling or current flow path going through this one. So this is using, that is what we are doing, that loop which he was doing it, considering it earlier, I simply break it so that there would not be any effect here. Third one is, often we use optocoupler. Often we require to find out, say suppose a motor which is a 400-volt motor, say 440-volt motor. And I want to measure what is the current through it, which is very high, kiloampere current or like this here. And there is a small resistance, maybe 0.1 ohm resistance. I pass it through it. And what we do normally for measuring the current, I pass this resistance and measure the voltage across it. Mind it, this one, there is a 440-volt supply is there. There is a 440-volt supply is there. I am just giving you a DC, but it could be AC also there. So the point is that for both the 2 points, there is a common mode signal of what we can say, it is of 440-volt or like this. There is also another problem is that if you want to handle it, you will have to be careful because you may get shock and all the things there. So often it is desirable that this signal, you can break the loop, and in this case there should be a galvanic isolation. For this one, we often use what we call it optocoupler. Optocoupler is nothing but, instead of transformer, I am just giving one example. This is another case and this is, you can consider similar case. But what we say is both the cases we use optocoupler. What we do is that we have a LED and we have a photodiode, and both of them are enclosed in a encapsulated area. There are several ICs are there, they are optocoupler ICs are, say one of the example is MCT2E. This is one IC which is an optocoupler IC there. What does it do? Depending upon the current through it, the LED will give you some light, and the photodetector is very close to it. It will detect the light and correspondingly convert it to so voltage or current or like this and give the signal there. But ultimately, whatever we wanted is achieved because the loop is broken and we are not being, the loop is broken and basically the ground loop interference can be avoided and put it like this there. So this is another way of doing it there. Thirdly, okay, use battery operated power supply. What we do is that for that one, what I put it is that this is a, okay, this is the area. Instead of connecting to our, say, the power supply, that is a 5 volt or 12 volt or like this DC power supplies, which are often used for amplifiers and etc. For that one, we don't use that from power supply, because that will be coupling, that will be yeah, there to the ground, it is connected there. What is done is that you connect a battery power supply here. You connect a battery power supply here, and there is no connection here, there, no ground here. It is connected to the chassis of the PCB or like this, but there is no ground connections there itself, because it is not connected to the earth pit or the ground point of your power supply. So naturally, if it does not find any path for return, so there will not be able to interfere like this. So ground loop interference is a big headache for many of the practicing engineers, and this is a very important thing. And often, as I told, often we not only take one precautions, there are all of them may be simultaneously be used. Maybe method 1, 2, and 3 to avoid, to make double sure, to avoid that here there. So this is in a nutshell what we go for the common mode in, I mean, ground loop interference, and these are the techniques for moving this one. So next is actually, we call it inductive coupling. So that is what is required is that there must be some conductive path for flowing some current there. On the other hand, next two types of coupling are capacitive coupling or inductive coupling, that do not require any uh, current flowing path connection, direct link with that one there. So often, actually, we have seen this practice, but sometimes we really didn't think of why you are using it. Say, suppose there is a same thing, I have it. I just put it as a readout. That means a signal conditioning circuit for this one, and this is your sensor. Now suppose we have a high voltage source, or rather it is a high current source. It is, say, suppose a high current is flashing to the nearby line or like this, and going to the some path like this. So as I know that this is often happens to a welding machine. Welding machine, you know, it takes a high current and big cables are there, it takes a high current. Suppose this welding machine passes through this way like this there, and this passes some current there. So what is there, and maybe some way, something nearby, some current, another cable where is going, which is carrying high current. So what will happen is that in this case, from the principle of inductive coupling, that is some voltage would be induced, that is LDI/dt. So more current and more frequency, this will be there, LDI/dt voltage will be induced in this way, and then what will happen, that will be, this voltage may be higher than this actual sensor voltage, and that will corrupt the thing there. So what is the way out? Any idea? You know you must have seen the way out, but possibly you have not thought of it. So what is a remedy? I will call it, in this case, use twisted wire. You must have seen that this is a sensor or anything is there, signal is coming, and in your audio signal, it could be audio signal also, or video signals also. So what may be that in this case, you use the twisted cable there. If we use a twisted cable there and they are both of them nearby, it would be coupling both, and basically in one place it would be coupling positively, in one case it will be coupling negatively, and as a result net effect is that the overall coupling is zero. So that is one of the reasons, means the thing you must have seen that the people use this twisted cable in often in your household or any other area also. So use a twisted cable, and that will always avoid that one. Next is that what we called capacitive coupling. This we have already discussed in the last class. What we shown at that there is a sensor and there is a there, and it is going to your, say suppose, readout, and say suppose there is a power line here. I am considering only 220 volt, but it could be high voltage, kilovolt or something, because in a laboratory so many lines are there and so many voltages we are fit, and this is a power line there. So what we had shown that there is always some coupling between these points there, and this is a coupling, C or C coupling there we can say, and this is around say 10 picofarad. We have seen that in the last class we have shown it that this one is sufficient to destroy all the noise there, signal there. You will only see a 50 hertz high voltage, signal there, and no 50 hertz interference, no noise signal can be seen there. So naturally, always we try to identify. That's a very important thing is that, okay, we are getting some noise or interference. It's a more important thing is that you identify the reason and you go for that. Try to avoid that one. So that is the thing. So if we can and identify, and there is always possibility that this thing will happen. All the things will happen simultaneously, not only, so all sort of conductive, inductive, capacitive, all the things there. So what is the way out? In this case, what is the way out is that definitely don't allow the capacitance to couple this wire which is uh, taking the signal there. So what we can say, the remedy is use, I think this is also known, you have seen in your audio systems and etc. there, but possibly you have not noticed that one, is used shielded wires or shielded cables. So what we make it in this way, what is there is that shielded wires and shield the source. source and detector or readout, like not detector, I will put it readout. So that what we can say is that first of all the things I put a okay. Metallic shield, maybe some aluminium or something metallic, complete metallic shield. I just put it here. And also there is a shield that we call it, that is a aluminium and all the things there. So that, and all of them I connect it to ground. I connect it to ground, and so that what will happen is that whatever is the capacitance is coming, the linking will be with the shield and which is grounded, but that will not be able to enter any current through the measurement path here. Okay. And also what we do is that, okay, I will do it in this way. What we do is that in this path, okay, from this ground point, this is a shielded wire. That means you must have seen your audio systems are like this. There is a some sort of mesh of A there, uh, and A there, which is actually surrounds the actual wire which carries the signal there. So this is what we have, a flexible shield there. If you open up those any shielded wires, I think it is you must have seen like this. So this is a shield there. It could be two core or it could be single core. I am showing you for the one core. And this shield I ground it at one point only. So in case of any coupling with the capacitance there, that will be with the shield itself, and the shield is grounding and no signal or no current due to which it can enter your measuring signal. And obviously it is important that shielding has to be grounded at one point only. If it is connected at both the two ends, then we know there is a ground loop interference, due to which there would be some current through the shield flowing due to the ground flowing loop interference. And then again, it may, due to the other type of coupling, it may cause you some the signal may enter there. So basically, we can say that this is a capacitive coupling which we have it, and for avoidance of the capacitive coupling, there is a shielding, we often use it. Of course, there are further A there that is called guard and another further improvements. I am not going into that details there. But what I wanted to say is that if you are going to design some circuit like this there, and if you want to work with the hardware like this, you will definitely face this sort of problem, which you are not getting the expected signal, which you should get it. So the troubleshooting, finding out what is the problem, is the one of the greatest challenges there. And at the same time, while you make the design, while you make the A there, we should also design, incorporate these features so that this sort of interference we don't allow to happen. So all the things, particularly this conductive coupling, in a capacitive coupling, inductive coupling, these are the three things which are often we try to avoid that one there. And electromagnetic coupling, high frequency, we put some small capacitor at the input tension, etc., so that this sort of interference is reduced there. So that's all we can say right now. Obviously, it is very difficult to explain all the things, but if you be a practical instrument engineer looking for an instruments or some device, very small circuit, uh, small voltage, small current devices, definitely will come across this sort of problem, a lots of measurement problem, and you will have to overcome this. With all this, I conclude my class and also the subject instrumentation devices. So I thank you for your patient hearing. I hope I could introduce something, some understanding of about the instrumentations and what to do, what are the principles, how to measure, and what are the precautions, are like this there. So that's with that one. I thank you all.